Someone was already on my land when the sun came up. I knew it before I saw them. The sound was wrong. An engine idling too
This neighborhood
smoothly.
will adhere to
Not
our
a truck.
standards. Any
Not
violations
local.
will be dealt
When
with
I stepped onto
swiftly.
the porch, the morning air sharp with dew and diesel, I saw the sheriff's cruiser parked halfway up my gravel drive. Behind it stood a black SUV, engine running. Windows tinted dark enough to hide intentions. That's when my pulse picked up. I'd lived in this farmhouse my entire life. Built before zoning boards, before subdivisions, before anyone thought land could be weaponized with paperwork. Trouble didn't arrive here unless it was looking for something. The sheriff nodded when he saw me. "Morning, Mr. Hale." "Morning," I said, keeping my voice steady. 3 people stood beside the SUV. Same tailored navy blazers. Same posture. The woman in front held a tablet, like it was a badge. "Daniel Hale?" she asked, already knowing the answer. "That's me. I'm Elaine Porter, president of the Maple Ridge Estates Homeowners Association." She smiled professionally. "You're in violation of community covenants." I almost laughed. Almost. "I'm not part of Maple Ridge," I said. "Never have been." She tapped her screen and turned it toward me. "According to county filings, your property falls under our expanded jurisdiction. You failed to pay assessments. There are also unapproved structures on the land." I looked down. My name, my address, a signature that looked close enough to pass. "If you didn't know me, that's not my signature," I said. Her smile tightened. "The court disagrees." The sheriff shifted his weight. "There's an order, sir. 72 hours to comply before enforcement." Enforcement. Funny word. Clean. Bloodless. I glanced past them toward my fence line. Bright orange survey stakes had been driven into the soil. Fresh. Precise. Someone had already measured my land like it was inventory. "You didn't send notices," I said. "No certified mail. No contact." Elaine's eyes didn't blink. "We followed protocol." That was when I knew this wasn't a mistake. This was a move. They got back into their vehicles and rolled out like they owned the place. The sheriff gave me an apologetic look before following. The quiet returned, but it felt thinner now. Inside, I spread the documents across my kitchen table. They were perfect. County seals. Filing numbers. Legal language designed to make regular people panic and comply. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. I opened my laptop and logged into a system most people would never see. Hale Financial Holdings. Mortgage portfolios bloomed across the screen. Risk layers. Servicing rights. Neighborhood level exposure. Maple Ridge Estates lit up like a warning flare. 80% of that subdivision's mortgages ran through my bank. I cross-checked names. Elaine Porter appeared again. Not just HOA president. Legal intermediary. Registered agent on a shelf servicing company buried 3 layers deep. That's when the shape of it formed. They weren't collecting fees. They were positioning leverage. And my farmhouse, sitting between their development and the main road, was the last piece they needed. I closed the laptop and looked out the window at the barn, the fields, the land that had survived longer than any of us. They thought they were dealing with a stubborn farmer. They had no idea they just knocked on the door of the institution, holding their entire neighborhood together. 72 hours. Plenty of time to make a point. Elaine Porter didn't make sloppy moves. That much became clear within the first hour of digging. Everything she touched was layered. Clean on the surface, insulated underneath. The kind of work done by people who believed complexity itself was protection. I started where she didn't expect anyone to look. Not the HOA bylaws. Not the county filings. The money. At Hale Financial, I had access to something most executives never bothered to study closely anymore: raw servicing data. No summaries. No reports softened for board meetings. Just transactions. Time-stamped. Cold. Maple Ridge loans began to separate from the rest almost immediately. Escrow payments routed through a third-party servicer I didn't recognize. Northline Residential Services. New entity. Barely a digital footprint. Registered in Delaware, of course. I pulled the incorporation documents. Registered agent. Elaine Porter. I exhaled slowly. Northline wasn't handling all Maple Ridge accounts, just a specific slice. Adjustable rate mortgages set to reset within 90 days. Homeowners already stretched thin. Families one bad letter away from panic. The playbook was familiar. I'd seen versions of it during the last housing collapse. First pressure, HOA violations, fines, administrative fees, then confusion, then default. I drove into town and parked across from Porter and Shaw's law office. Glass walls, neutral art, expensive calm. I sat there for 3 hours, watching people come and go. At 2:11 p.m., a junior associate exited carrying a banker's box. No labels, no logo. He walked fast, like someone who didn't want to be remembered. I followed at a distance. He didn't go home. He didn't go to court. He went to a climate-controlled storage facility by the river. That was enough. Back at the farmhouse, I built a quiet trap. Northline had recently requested limited servicing authority on several hailback loans. Routine paperwork, except they'd rushed it. Sloppy for someone so careful elsewhere. I approved the request. Then I flagged the accounts internally. At 9:03 a.m. the next morning, Northline attempted to sweep escrow funds from a lone hail financial still legally owned. The system caught it instantly. And better than that, it recorded the call. Elaine's voice came through the speaker later that afternoon. Sharp, controlled, annoyed. "I don't care how you move it," she said. "Just make sure Hale doesn't see the discrepancy." I leaned back in my chair. She just crossed from civil overreach into federal crime. The sheriff called an hour later. "Mr. Hale," he said carefully, "there's a public HOA meeting tonight. You might want to attend." "Is that advice," I asked, "or an invitation?" He paused. "Let's call it a courtesy." As the sun dropped behind the fields, I organized everything. Audio files, transaction logs, corporate links. Clean, verifiable, impossible to wave away. This wasn't about my farmhouse anymore. This was about a machine designed to strip equity quietly, house by house, family by family. And Elaine Porter was just confident enough to think no one would ever follow the trail far enough to see it. She was wrong. Tonight, she was planning to enforce control. Instead, she was about to explain herself. The Maple Ridge Clubhouse had been designed to feel safe. Soft lighting, neutral paint, a row of framed aerial photos showing the subdivision as it grew. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. Progress on the wall, control in the air. By the time I arrived, every folding chair was filled. Homeowners murmured in low, uneasy tones. Word spread fast once the violation notices started landing in mailboxes. Elaine Porter sat at the front table, perfectly composed. Pearls, navy blazer, a glass of water placed exactly where she could reach it without looking. She didn't acknowledge me when I took a seat in the back. "We'll come to order," she said smoothly. "Tonight's agenda concerns enforcement actions and—" "I'd like to be recognized," I said. Heads turned. Elaine's eyes found me for the first time. A flicker of irritation, quickly buried. "Name and address, please." "Daniel Hale, the farmhouse." A ripple moved through the room. Everyone knew the house. The one that didn't match. The one they all drove past. Elaine nodded politely. "You'll have time during public comment." "I think this qualifies as immediate," I replied, "since you forged my signature." The room went silent. "That's an accusation," Elaine said, tone firm but measured. "So is wire fraud." I stood and walked forward, calm, deliberate. Plugged my phone into the projector port before anyone could stop me. The screen lit up. Transaction logs. Escrow transfers. Red flags highlighted. "These are Hale Financial-backed mortgages," I said. 37 of them, all rerouted through Northline Residential. Murmurs. Confusion. Fear. Elaine leaned forward. "This meeting is not the place." I hit play. Her voice filled the room. "I don't care how you move it. Just make sure Hale doesn't see the discrepancy." A woman in the front row gasped. Someone swore under their breath. Elaine stood abruptly. "This meeting is adjourned." "Sit down," a voice said from the back. The sheriff stepped forward, hand resting near his belt. Elaine froze. "I've already provided this evidence to federal regulators," I continued, my voice steady, "along with forged court documents authorizing seizure of my property." Elaine's face drained of color. "You used HOA enforcement to manufacture defaults," I said. "You targeted families who couldn't fight back, and you made one mistake." She swallowed. "What mistake?" "You involved me." The doors opened. 2 federal agents entered, badges visible, movements efficient. The room erupted. People standing, shouting questions, demanding answers. One agent approached Elaine. "Ms. Porter, you are under arrest for wire fraud, conspiracy, and falsification of legal documents." As they cuffed her, Elaine finally lost control. "This doesn't end here," she hissed, eyes locked on mine. "You think you won?" I leaned in just enough. "I think you talked." They let her out as the room dissolved into chaos. Homeowners realizing what had been done to them, board members arguing, phones recording everything. I stayed where I was. The truth had been released. And once something like that gets air, it doesn't go quietly back into the dark. The silence after a storm always feels earned. Maple Ridge went quiet in the days that followed, not peaceful exactly, but stunned, like a place waking up after realizing the ground beneath it had shifted. HOA notices stopped arriving. Late fees vanished from online portals. The clubhouse lights stayed off at night. Within 48 hours, the board resigned. Hale Financial froze every affected account and reversed the diverted escrow funds. Families who'd been bracing for foreclosure got phone calls instead. Apologies, corrections, breathing room. Some cried. Some didn't believe us at first. I understood both reactions. The sheriff stopped by the farmhouse one afternoon. No cruiser lights this time. Just a handshake on the porch. "County's dropping all enforcement actions," he said. "Your land's clear." "Appreciate it," I replied. He hesitated. "You ever think about running for something?" I smiled faintly. "No." News vans came next. I declined interviews. This wasn't a story that needed a hero. It needed an autopsy. Elaine Porter's arrest made headlines for a week. Fraud, conspiracy, abuse of authority. Her name became shorthand for greed dressed up as governance. But something about it didn't sit right with me. Elaine had been confident, too confident. She hadn't panicked until the very end. People like that don't usually build systems alone. Late one night, I pulled the deeper files. Northline Residential was only one node. Similar servicing patterns appeared in other counties. Different HOAs, different attorneys. Same financial backing. A private equity firm buried behind layers of shell companies. No website, no press, just capital moving quietly into distressed neighborhoods. Elaine hadn't designed the machine. She just operated it. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. She wasn't supposed to go public. You weren't supposed to look. No signature. No follow-up. I stared at the screen, then out across the fields. The farmhouse stood the way it always had. Solid, patient, unbothered by the schemes of smaller men. I shut the laptop. Some wars end with arrests. Others just reveal the board. The wind moved through the corn, carrying the low hum of distant traffic from the subdivision. Life continued. For now. But somewhere beyond Maple Ridge, someone else was already studying another map, another neighborhood, another line they thought no one would defend. And next time, they wouldn't make the mistake of knocking first.